Now today we're going to talk about the 5 essentials that you need with your go-to rifle. We're going to specifically look at the AR. This can relate to a lot of different rifle systems, but the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in America being sold. And a lot of guys will have their rifle and they may have a magazine or two and a little bit of ammunition. But let's talk about what you really need to at least have a basic setup to defend yourself, your family, in a multitude of different situations that can happen. We're not going to get into what ifs. I mean, obviously Paris is fresh on everyone's mind at the making of this video. We also had Chattanooga that just recently happened. You know, you bought your AR-15. Most of you bought it as a home defense weapon. And I mean, let's just be real about it. Yeah, the AR-15 is one of my favorite rifles to take out and shoot. But the reason that it appeals to me so much is the capability. It's a light, handy rifle that's very accurate. The accessories, magazines, and things are very cheap for this rifle. Parts. It is a U.S. military issued rifle and issued to militaries all over the world. Guys, first and foremost is your ammunition. If you have a magazine, you can reload it. Ammunition to me is top on the list. 1,000 rounds minimum to me is just the great base. That's just a figure. They come in 1,000 round cases, and you know, you may not be able to get it all at once, because really right now a case of 5.56 or 223 runs around the $300 mark. Of course, there's some that are more expensive and some that are cheaper, but buying decent quality ammunition, 1,000 rounds is a great place to start. You know, I definitely have more than that. And I like to shoot a lot, so I'm shooting a lot of my ammunition. And part of that is you need to be training. You need to be going out and shooting, learning how your rifle functions. And so the first thing on the list is 1,000 rounds of ammunition. Number 2 on the list is extra magazines. And I definitely recommend having at least 6 extra magazines for your rifle. The magazine that comes with the rifle, great. Having the 6 additional 30-round magazines can be really important. Now, there's a lot of states that limit the capacity, and you just have to go with what you have. But I definitely recommend 6. If you can only have 10-round magazines, guys, you need more than this. But even 6 will get you, be a good start. We have a number of different types here, and of course I've got the Magpul P-Mags. Predominantly what I use, we have Lancer. This is Elite Tactical Group, something I'm reviewing right now. Also Tabco makes really good mags, and Hex mags. I really like Hex mags. And then of course the old GI mags. And so you have a number of different ones, and there are others that you can choose from. But getting 6 good magazines is number 2 on the list. Number 3 on the list is a good sling. Now, most of your rifles, if you bought it new, it should come with just a regular nylon sling. And if that's what you have, that's what you use, because you really need to be able to secure that rifle on your person if you need to go to hands. You know, having a good sling, especially if you're walking around, makes it really important. One of my favorites is the Magpul MS3. This is an excellent convertible sling system, and I just really like Magpul. Here's a paracord sling that's quick detach, excellent system as well, plus you get the benefit of having the paracord. But your sling system is really important. Now, our U.S. military has done a number of different studies on the advantage of optics, and the conclusion is that having optics on your gun increase your hit ratio dramatically. Now you can go with the red dot. Here's a little Spark 2 Vortex, great little scope for the money, or you can go more like this MRO, you know, from Trijicon. Of course, you know, you have your ACOG, which is fantastic, and then, you know, like here we have the primary arms 1-6. Great scope for both long and short range. So, you know, there's a lot of different options. 4X seems to be a really good number for a lot of scopes in between. So there's a ton of different choices out there, and I've reviewed a bunch of them. But really, finding a good optic for the money is important. And really, before you go and spend $1,000 or $800 on an ACOG, get you something reasonable and make sure that you have your ammo, your magazines, your sling, and the other things we're going to talk about. Now, the traditional way the AR is set up, this is a MPC carbine from Wyndham Weaponry, which I really want to highly recommend Wyndham. It has the detachable carry handle with the built-in sight, and of course it has the front sight. You need to have backup irons, and that's one of the things that is next on the list. Your optics can be damaged, they can get knocked, and so having that backup sight is important. And so here we have backups. I can put the carry handle in my pack, and if I need to, pull off my primary optic and throw this back on. Here I have one of the Magpul backup sights, or MBUS sights. They do make the new Pros, which I really like even better than the polymer MBUS. But the MBUS are very reasonable, and they lay low, so I can go ahead and I can mount my optic right on here, be able to use my optic, and then if something happens, of course I have a QD system here, I can take it off and deploy my regular sights. A lot of sights also co-witness with your red dot, and that makes it nice as well, so you don't have to take your optics off. So there's a lot of different options, but backup sights to me are really important. Now, I have heard the argument that if the battle gets that bad, there'll probably be other weapons around that you can use. But if you want to take that kind of philosophy, go ahead. Me, I'd rather kind of be more self-sufficient and know what I have. Because what can go wrong will go wrong. I have my rear sight. I've got my A2 sight right here to be able to quickly deploy it. Now, of course, if you have a free float handguard and all that, of course, that gets into different things. Now, to me, this is the bare bones. These are the things that you really need to first consider, period. Before you start upgrading your rifle, before you start getting Mo furniture and you start, or even really nice free float handguards and things like that, you really need to take care of your basics first. Then as you can, of course, it's easy enough to pull off the A2 sight and put on a free float handguard. You can put your attachments on here, and then of course you can replace that buttstock, your grip, whatever you want to. I mean, guys, the sky's the limit on replacing parts on these rifles. But one of the other things that I think you need before you start doing all the accessories is some type of load-bearing gear. And here I have a Hi-Com Security. This is a plate carrier. I don't have the pouches attached to it yet, but this just represents a plate carrier to be able to carry your mags, because otherwise you're going to be carrying them in your pocket, or you may have just some kind of bag or something, and really it'd be good to have this. But this is not before the other things that we mentioned. Another thing that's really worthy to mention to me is a light. Having a light on your rifle can be really important. One of the things about this is you'll need some kind of mounting system, and with the traditional AR-15 you can get rails that screw in to the standard A2 handguard, and I've done that years ago before I started getting into, before the quad rail came out, but being able to get a mount for this and figuring that out. But a good light would be, to me, one thing that's in the list, but it's not at the top of the list. I think this would be about number 7. So guys, get squared away with the essentials first, then you can start doing all the things you want to your rifle. It's very alluring to start adding all this stuff to your rifle and yet only have 100 rounds of ammunition. Make sure you have that stock of ammunition put aside and all the other essentials before you start putting on your free float handguard, because this rifle is a tool and you need to treat it as such. The fun stuff, the tactical stuff that we can do, is secondary. It is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend doing that. But for now, make sure that you get the essentials first, because when you need it, ammunition and magazines, guys, that's number 1. And guys, always remember that we are the good guys. We're the defenders. We are those that stand and help the oppressed, and we help those in need. We're not the aggressors. And we need to stand firm and do the right thing. And this just gives us the tools to stand and protect human life and to protect our freedoms. So having the 5 essentials for your go-to rifle, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. with optics versus forces without, the optics always win. It has the detachable, we have Lancer. This is Elite Tactical Group. So let's talk about it without getting some things. So let's just talk about it. Guys, we got to be ready to protect our freedoms, and let's stand in the gap.